Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Web3 Weekly. I am Crypto Kenny. I'm super excited to have you guys on with us this week. So we are going to go over what I consider probably the most important subject to newcomers in the space, and probably the subject that needs most revisited, even if you're an OG and you've been around for a long time in the space, and that is Web3 security. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to have a special guest Crash. He is works with the Ballistic Graffiti team, and he is a cybersecurity expert. He's worked in cybersecurity in the military for many years, so he has a background in cybersecurity, and he's going to teach us some tips, tricks, best practices in regards to Web3, in regards to Discord use, and it's going to be very, very valuable material, guys. For those of you that have not already, there is a button down below. It says follow. Please push that. There's another button that says like. Please like the video so we can get this content out to more people. If you're listening on a podcast or other platform other than YouTube, you can share and like as that platform allows. Thank you very much. Leave us comments on what you appreciated about the video, what you like, what you didn't like. Helps us make these videos better. So please do that. If you haven't watched any of our other videos, last week we had Splinterlands, probably one of the most long running and just an amazing team in crypto gaming. If you have not watched that video, I would encourage you to check that out. I'll have a tag right up here. You can just click and jump right to it. Fantastic video in itself. So with that being said, all introductions done all around. We have Crash here today. Appreciate him being on here. I will have his socials linked below with some other material. You guys can check him out. Can check Ballistic Graffiti out. And these guys, at Alpha Mutants, we've been working with them now for a couple months. We're starting to expand our partnership. They have a fantastic, knowledgeable team. They're based around the military and helping our vets and active duty military members, which I think is fantastic and it needs to be represented more in the space. So without further ado, Crash, thank you so much for being on with us, man. And I'll let you give an introduction to yourself, and then we can start learning about some security.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on here. Like I said, I feel honored. Just a quick background about me. I'm Crash. Real name is Chris, and I did 4 years active duty in the military. And then I just got out in July and then swapped over to the reserves. Um, I've spent a lot of time in cybersecurity. I did networking for the military, and that goes along with cybersecurity. But I've kind of been like self-teaching myself a lot of things, especially before I was in the military. As soon as I was a kid and I got my first, little laptop, uh, I started really getting into technology. So I started hitting that nail on the head really, really hard and just learning as much as I can. So I've cross-trained myself into a lot of things. Um, Went on deployment for a little bit back in August last year, came back in February this year, did a lot of cybersecurity and networking there. And then as soon as I came back, I went ahead and got certified in ethical hacking, network defending, and just other stuff like that. I was, pretty surprised that there isn't a lot of people who are into cybersecurity but have moved over to Web3 security. It is a big thing. I've seen lots of people who have been in this space for a long time, still losing all their assets. Bored apes are getting taken at least once a month,
Yep.
and it's crazy how much people like don't actually realize how to stay safe in the Web3 space, and it really can happen to anybody. It doesn't matter how long you think you've been doing this. There's always going to be some new exploit out there that someone's going to take advantage of. And as soon as you think you're safe, boom, all your stuff is gone. So today I'll be going over like the basic steps and just the basic stuff to kind of keep you as secure as possible while being as efficient as possible.
That's fantastic, man. And I think that that's something that, like you said, a lot of people in this space take for granted until it happens to you. I've known guys that have been in the space for 3, 4, 5 years and just never had any issue, and then just one night clicking on a link, a phishing link, or connecting their wallet and giving some kind of permissions, lose everything. And so I think that it's a super imperative topic to talk about. So we'll let you get through some of the basics on that. I also want to talk to you a little bit more once we get through some of this about your ethical hacking certification and what that kind of entails too, because that's a personal interest of mine also, and I think a good skill set to have in the space, because there's a lot of opportunity for ethical hacking to help out protocols and things like that. So we'll get that a little bit down the line. But yep, let's go ahead and start the basics. You just I'm going to be taking some notes here myself.
Yeah. Is there any specific topic you want me to touch on first? I usually try to start with wallet security.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good place to start, because it's very, very imperative. If you don't get that right, nothing's right. So
Yeah. All right. So when it comes to wallet security, right? So I'm sure a lot of people have gone on Twitter and they see these other communities. I won't call out any communities, but there's other communities out there who make these wallet security diagrams. And 9 times out of 10, they're wrong. I've seen so many where that's like they're contradicting themselves, and it kind of like you read it and it looks good, but it doesn't really make any sense if you kind of think about it. A lot of people use these hot and cold terms. I personally don't feel like that's the best terminology. I think to keep people informed, you should use like the hard wallet, soft wallet terminology, because there's a reason why they're called that. Soft meaning software and hard meaning hardware. But when you go into these diagrams, you start to see they'll talk about how many cold wallets you need or hard wallets, and they'll talk about how you need like 2 of them, and then like you need 3 soft wallets or hot wallets. But they tend to tell you like, oh, you shouldn't have this much ETH in this one or this much ETH in this one. And the thing is that like, right, nobody can really tell you how much Ethereum is supposed to have in a wallet. It's really they'll try to say like, oh, you shouldn't have more than 1 ETH, but just try to use like common sense, right? Whatever you have in a wallet that is able to connect to the internet, if you're connecting this wallet to OpenSea, to Collabland, or you're going to a website to mint an NFT, be like, careful, and like just know that whatever you have in your wallet, you should be comfortable with losing, because it is your responsibility to move this stuff over to a more secure storage. So, but in these diagrams, you'll see they tend to use like a Ledger wallet, for example. I don't personally have a Ledger wallet, but I do think that it is a decent wallet. The only issue is that these Ledger wallets have the feature to connect to OpenSea and Collabland. Now, a lot of people kind of look over that and they think it's a cool feature, but if you think about it, it's a hard wallet. Like, what is the purpose of a hard wallet? It's to stay offline. The only time you should be using your hard wallet is to be transferring assets. And if you're connecting your hard wallet to the internet, OpenSea and Collabland, you're defeating the purpose of having a hard wallet to begin with. And a lot of people like just look over that, and people will put this in their little diagram talking about wallet security, and that's not secure, right? Because you never know the day that OpenSea could have some sort of vulnerability in it, and they start draining wallets that had connected to it within the past 2-3 hours. And just so happened the day you connect your hard wallet, the wallet that has all your stuff in it, it could end up being drained without you realizing. But the thing I tend to go over, right, is you really only need one hard wallet, because if you're using it properly, you're not connecting it to the OpenSea and Collabland. You're only using it to store all your assets and just nothing else. You're not doing any crazy transfers and stuff like that. You really only need one. Like you don't really need multiple hard wallets. Now, if you wanted to be that secure, it's fine. Like you can do you. But I say only one is about all you need. But either way, there are people out there who still don't have a hard wallet. Please go pick one up. They're very important. Um, in my little class that I give, I tend to go over how not too long ago a guy ended up losing 7 Bored Apes.
Mm,
Um, he lost them. He lost the first 5. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly how. He tried listing them, but either it was like a fake link or he signed some sort of fake contract that ended up transferring all 5 of them. And uh after that, he ended up talking to his community. He's like, "Hey, I just lost 5 Bored Apes. What do I do?" And a guy sends him a fake revoke.cash link. And I'm sure some people know a lot about revoke.cash. It's really good for if your wallet is compromised to remove wallet connections from websites. But someone sent him a phishing link, a fake revoke.cash link, and he ended up losing 2 more because he
wow.
connected his wallet. And I just sit there and I'm like someone who has a couple $1 million, like even these people who are pretty wealthy still don't follow the basics when it comes to wallet security, and it ends up happening to them. And these are
Hmm.
people, if you've had a board ape, you've probably been in the space for a while. So it's just crazy how this happens. And it's like, you know, I don't know if he had them on a hard wallet. Um, I assume he had them on like a software wallet and it was just sitting in some sort of MetaMask, and that's how we ended up losing them. But it's crazy how it really can happen to anybody.
So your advice, just kind of recapping on it, is that if you're using a hardware wallet properly, then there really isn't a need or necessity to have more than one, unless that's just your personal preference to diversify, because you're not really increasing your security any if you're properly using a hardware wallet and not connecting it, to sites online or to OpenSea or to any of these sites that could be hacked. That it's just it's just something that would be personal preference and not something that would necessarily make your security any better to have multiple hardware wallets.
Yeah, like it is just a personal preference, and I'm sure there's people who will listen to this and be like, "Oh, well, I have 2. I think it's way more secure." And yeah, it is. Being redundant. I talked about it all the time in the military. Just having that redundancy is helpful. It's great to have extra security. I mean, it doesn't hurt, right? But I just don't want someone to be misinformed and go out and spend a couple $100 on these hardware wallets and to like split their assets up in like 5 different wallets, and then like they're just wasting money at that point and wasting their time. um because if they end up following these other diagrams, even though they have all 5, they're still going to be connecting them to OpenSea and Collabland. They're still going to be connecting them to these sites, which no matter where you have your assets stored, it can be in all 5 wallets. You could end up losing all 5 wallets assets just because you're still connecting them. And
Yep.
like that's something I really try to touch upon. If you are truly keeping your hardware wallet offline and secure, there really is no need to have more than 2. I could understand having 2, um, but like I said, just a personal preference of mine. I only have 1. I know if I keep it as secure as possible, I shouldn't be running any risk of losing any assets on there. Um, and it kind of goes into a diagram I have made. I have made one for wallet security, and I talk about how uh, I use 1 hard wallet and 3 software wallets. So in the software wallets, actually I follow a really secure way of transferring assets, right? So for example, you have your hardware wallet and it connects to soft wallet number 1. Soft wallet number 1 doesn't connect to any websites. You 100% keep it I wouldn't say offline, but you keep it away from all these sites. The only thing you should be connecting to is your hard wallet and soft wallet number 2. Now, the reason why you connect to soft wallet number 2 is because soft wallet number 2 is going to be your secure way of buying assets. Like, for example, buying NFTs off of the floor on OpenSea, or verifying your assets on Collabland. Those are the only two websites soft wallet number two is going to be connecting to. So it kind of, you kind of know that as long as you follow those two little steps and only connect to those two sites on soft wallet number two, you know it's fairly secure. So it's okay to connect to soft wallet number one, transfer your assets over, and then from number one to your hard wallet. It is tedious, I will say that.
Mhm.
Um, my diagram is very tedious, and people are going to look at it and be like, that looks very annoying, and it really is. It's that's the thing though when it comes to being secure, is to do these little small tedious things that nobody likes to do, and it goes a long way. um and in my diagram, I do soft wallet number three. I do mention it to be that can be your burner wallet, your degen wallet. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Only hold as much Ethereum in there as you're willing to lose. So and with that wallet, I do say, hey, it's okay to connect to these non-trusted websites, these projects websites to mint something, because this wallet won't be holding anything important to you. You'll be moving everything over to two more soft wallets, then to your hard wallet. Um, but the things I'm going to be talking about, like I said, are very tedious, but that it's a lot of people just really don't do this very simple stuff, and they ended up losing their assets in the long run, because it really does happen to anybody.
Yeah, for sure. I've seen everybody from the brand new person coming in all the way up to people that have been in the space for, a decade. So it really, it isn't any respecter of persons. And I think it's worthwhile noting that it's not like once you know the different scams and stuff that you're just good, because these scammers and hackers are developing daily, that they're so innovative. You see a new type of scam happening all the time. Whether it's the evolution of how to drop phishing links. That there's a big segment of time where we saw a lot of scams that were going on were simply just people getting a Discord admin to click on a phishing link to get control of their Discord, and then dropping a fake mint site or a fake claim site into a Discord, and just having people drop into it. So it really wasn't any on chain hacking of any kind. It was really just basic phishing links that were taking over Discord protocols. And that's just one example. There's hundreds of examples, right, for these type of things. So I also think it's worth mentioning that even if you go through a course, which, by the way, for those of you that are watching, we will be having Crash inside the Alpha Mutants Discord to do some courses on security and things like that. So it might be worthwhile for you to join. But I think it's worthwhile to mention that it's something that you need to constantly keep up, and keep doing, I would say, like refreshers on your security, and checking any updates that security specialists are putting out, because, like I said, this is an evolving space. So not only is the good technology evolving, but the scammers, the hackers, the bad technology is also evolving. So it makes a lot of sense to keep up with it.
Yeah, 100%. And in this course, I do also go over Discord security. If you have a project, or just really any Discord server that you own, or you're a part of, and you have these high privileges, there is a certain feature that you can turn on in Discord that makes it to where your moderators and higher up, so like your admins and founders, they must have two-factor authentication on in order to kick people, ban people, stuff like that. And I recommend turning that on, because you never know, you could have that one admin that you're buddies with, but you didn't know that he did not have two-factor authentication on, and he can click one of these links and end up losing his account. And through a little bit of social engineering, he could easily take people's wallets. He can ask for wallet information that people aren't really aware of what he's trying to do,
Mhm.
because you could have these community members who really trust the founders and everybody, and he could end up just completely ruining the reputation of a project just because one of your admins was not being secure at all.
Mhm.
um when it comes to our server, I tend to have like link features kind of removed, just to keep everybody safe. But I don't know if Discord have patched it, but there was a time where there were certain links that could be sent out that bypass two-factor authentication. And it was like, in a way, basically when you click this link, uh, it would have you kind of like sign in a way.
Mhm.
And basically what was going on is that you're typing in your information and it was key logging you.
Mhm.
So you type in your username and password, and it would work. So it would ask for a two-factor authentication code. But as soon as you go to type it in and press enter, it doesn't work, because basically what's happening is that you just gave the attacker your two-factor authentication code. And and even though they have like maybe 5 seconds to enter it in, it's almost instant, right? Because they
Mhm.
have it to where it does it automatically for them. So
Mhm.
you're basically giving them your code to get into the account, and by then it's game over. You've lost your account completely. And it's always good to have at least like one backup account, so you can, if something like that happens, you can sign in and let people know, say, hey, ban this account immediately because this account got compromised.
Mm. So for somebody that's, since Discord is so prevalent in the space, I mean, if you're into crypto, there's a 5% chance that you're active on Discord in some way. So if you were talking to a person that is, coming into the space, or even someone that's had a Discord account for a long time, what would be the couple major points that you would recommend to secure your Discord properly and to avoid, the best that you can, the different hacks that are prevalent in Discord?
So the number one thing, people talk about it all the time, turn your DMs off, right? Because that is the main way people get their stuff taken, is because you'll get a DM and they'll send you a link of some sort, maybe saying that you won Nitro, maybe saying that there's another NFT server doing some sort of giveaway, and you go to click on that link, and that's really all they need. Right then and there, you've done lost your account. So turn off your DMs. If you own a Discord server, I recommend uh, the role that is automatically given to people who come in. Turn off links, right? Keep them from sending links, keep them from sending certain messages, even images, right? Because a lot of people don't know this, but when I go over like how phishing works, I put in at the end of the description any form of data, because it really can be images, gifs, it could be links, like it could be anything that can be malicious, right? So even downloading a simple image uh could completely compromise your computer.
Hmm.
um so turn off your DMs. If you own a server, keep people from sending links. uh Another thing to do is go to a server that has a lot of good reputation, right? So a server that 100% it has been around for a while, and they're pretty secure. Go look at their bots. So if a server has the real legitimate bots, you know where to invite bots into your server. So for example, there's a lot of fake giveaway bots out there, a
Hmm.
lot of fake ones. So you want to find a server that has been around for a while and has been using a giveaway bot for a while, and you want to go and find that bot and click on that specific bot's profile to invite to your server. Because if you look up online just a giveaway bot for Discord, like, I mean, chances are the real one's going to pop up, but there will still be those fake ones lingering around. And as soon as you invite them to your server, they can do one or two things, right? They could either completely destroy your server by deleting channels, or spamming messages, or they could mass DM your community.
Hmm.
um and it happens a lot. Mass DMing is how people who with malicious intent get these like these big servers where they'll go and like sell certain things. but they'll create these fake bots for people to invite. And as soon as that bot joins the server, it'll invite everybody else in the server to invite that bot to theirs, and it just keeps going down, right? So
Mm,
I've actually seen it happen before. A couple years ago, I knew the guy who created bots, and he actually had showed me how a mass DM bot works, and it was very unethical, right? But basically, I watched him deploy this bot, and you could see it only took about 10 minutes, and this bot was in hundreds of servers just
mm,
from mass DMing some a community of people, and then those people inviting that bot to their specific servers, and
uh,
it keeps going. It is like a virus, um, and it's one of the things you just got to look out for. Um, another real quick thing that you can use to verify bots, right, is the last four digits on a bot's name. That little 4-digit code you see at the end of a name, that is actually one of the most secure ways to determine if a bot is real or not. Because you go and look at like the real Collabland bot, for example. I know Alpha Mutants, I know Ballistic Graffiti Club. We do 100% have the real Collabland bot, but if you
mhm,
go and click on the profile of that bot, there's 4 digits at the end, right? I think it's like 6273 or something like that.
mhm.
Um, that doesn't change. That will never change for the Collabland bot. So you know that in your server, if you invite a Collabland bot and those last 4 digits don't match up to these other two servers, then
Uh-huh.
you know you have the wrong one,
Uh,
because there are a lot of fake ones out there, and it's easy to just copy over a description and copy over a fake link, and just have these bots completely ruin people, especially in Web3, because a lot of people trust Collabland,
yeah.
because this is where you verify your NFTs and get these roles. So chances are the wallet you're using to connect to Collabland has a good amount of NFTs on it.
That's insane, man. It's really, I think a lot of people don't understand how simple it is, and just like such a simple thing as that, and it can compromise so many people. So and honestly, I think I've seen more. You hear about these protocol hacks every now and then, and people will lose money, or they'll connect to a rug pull project with their wallet, and they'll sign a a wallet signature to like give permissions to like the 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 protocol to move things out of their wallet or things like that. You hear about those things, but that's few and far between. It happens every now and then, but it's like daily that we hear of a Discord scam. And that's why I think it's so important to touch on those things, because I remember there was a time frame probably 6 months ago where it was every single day there was 2 or 3 Discords being hacked every single day. And they would just go through, and when you saw a new hack happen, you could bet on the fact that for the next 72 hours or so, that exact same hack would take place in a dozen other Discords, and it just kept going. And so I think that there are certain things in this space that I think need to change. I think one of those things is that people, because this space moves so fast and it's so hype driven, that people tend to have a problem looking into things that just aren't deemed quote unquote sexy. They're just not. They're not sexy. They're things that you have to spend some time on, and security is one of those things, right? It's like you have to spend some time on it. It's not always the funnest thing in the world to make sure that you're being secure, that you're doing the right things. But if you have ever been the victim of a hack, you realize how important it really is, and that you need to take time doing it. And it's such a needed thing in the space. Because if everyone was keeping up with their security, if there was more security specialists teaching and more information, readily available for these things, I think we could really knock down these trends of seeing Discord after Discord after Discord hacked daily, when we know that, even when people know it's going to happen, because there's not enough a large enough percentage of the community that is actively taking security seriously. Um, and that's just my that's I mean that's my personal opinion. That's from years and years in the space. I mean, it has gotten better. I mean, over the years, there are projects that are actively, trying to work with security or with, identifying scams and things like that. But there's projects, like Ballistic Graffiti, like Greedy Ghost, and half a dozen other projects out there that are working with these type of things. But I mean, it's the percentage that are working on it. I mean, it needs to be tenfold because everyone needs to have either be involved with a project that has security on the forefront, or we're actively going to a site or community that is constantly posting information about it. I think it's a very, very needed thing in the space. um, so let's shift gears here for just a minute, because I think you've made some really good points, and we'll overview these in the description, guys. So you can, I hope if you're watching this, you've taken some notes, or either written them down, or type them in, and are preparing to double check these things and making sure that you're all up to date on your security issues. But let's talk about you mentioned earlier that you have your ethical hacking certification. Can you talk a little bit about what that is, like a description of what exactly that entails, and then maybe we can talk a little bit about where that plays into the Web3 space, and what kind of stuff you can get into for that.
Yeah, 100%. So with that certification, right? Basically, so there, this certification really teaches you more about like helping out companies, and just big corporates and everything, trying to keep their network secure, how to monitor network traffic, and just basically how to stay up to date on certain like exploits that are happening out there. There really is no certification for when it comes to Web3 security. I will say just recently, when I took the class, right, they did go over crypto. It was a thing. They took a step in that direction, and I really do like it. It's I was excited to when they mentioned the crypto. I was like, oh, this is
Yeah.
this is my thing. But in that certification, right, or in that class, the number one thing they try to teach you, right, and not a lot of people kind of do this. It's to put your mind and your mindset in the mind of like a hacker, right? You got to really think like a hacker in order to be secure. And it's because if you think like a hacker, and if you think of ways that you could get into your Discord server, for example, it goes a long way, because it if you know how to hack something, then you know how to lock it down and keep it secure.
Mm.
um and it's there's a lot to learn out there when it comes to ethical hacking, and it's a huge learning curve. But the easiest thing I could say at the moment, right, that is more of like a something you have to work on yourself, is putting yourself in the mind of a hacker, and trying just really thinking of like what are ways that someone could potentially steal information on my server, or like just like maybe my website. um there's a lot of attacks out there, and what's crazy is that the attacks branch off into more specific names. For example, like when you go to, let's say, a fake OpenSea link, right, and you sign a transaction over on your wallet, it's phishing, right? It's because it is a form of phishing. But when it's Web3 related, the specific term is called ice phishing. So you can kind of see for all types of attacks how it can get really specific, and it's a lot to learn, and to put in your head. But it is important learning the specific types of attacks and how they happen. um I'm sure you saw what happened to Solana again the other day.
Hmm. Yep.
um they don't really, the people who created Solana don't really talk about it. But I think personally it was a 0-day attack, which is something I do go over it in the course that I'll be doing for Alpha Mutants. um so 0-day attacks are kind of the attacks that ruin reputations. of
Mhm.
like companies and projects and everything, because these are the attacks where the developers didn't know there was a vulnerability, and these attackers will take their time and slowly build things up before they do a full on attack, and just completely ruin the reputation of the project before the developers can even find a fix for it, because it's hard to fix something that you didn't know that was broken, right?
Mhm.
um and I think that's kind of what's going on with Solana. I think the security team or the development team kind of took a little bit of, they didn't take some extra steps, or maybe they were missing out on something. And there's people out there that are always smarter than the person you think is smartest, right? It
Yep.
just keeps going, right? Doesn't matter how much money you have, doesn't matter what team you have, how secure you think you have things. There's always going to be someone smarter than them who finds a workaround. Um, and unfortunately, 9 times out of 10, that person who ends up being smarter might they'll do things unethically. They might not be that ethical hacker who comes in and helps. They might be that person who takes that chance and steals that couple millions of dollars because to them it was so easy.
Mhm.
um the thing that happened to Solana, I looked at the wallet that was receiving all this drained money, and at the time that wallet had over $6 million in Solana alone.
Ugh.
And they I mean they had a bunch of other tokens in there, but it's sad to see, right? And the thing is that, like, after the first attack that happened with Solana, I know it happens to really almost every crypto. A lot of big cryptos out there, they do have these security breaches, but it's it's something with Solana that they're just not doing right. And I don't mean to talk bad about Solana at all. I really do think it is. If it was more secure, it would be a perfect currency, because they really do have something going on there, and I really do love the overall idea around it. But Web3 overall is actually in a kind of gray area where everybody is trying to move to a decentralized world, but we're not really ready yet. So,
Mhm.
um, for example, people talk about keeping their assets on like Coinbase and crypto.com. I had a guy come in when I was teaching in class yesterday. He was telling me, he was like, "Hey, I don't have a hard wallet. What do you feel about me keeping my stuff in Coinbase and crypto.com?" And honestly, I'm sure y'all know that crypto.com and Coinbase aren't decentralized. They are a centralized company, right?
Yep.
But they're a company that has a lot of money, and they do tend to have better security than these other wallets out there, like MetaMask and Phantom. So even though we want to step away from a centralized world and move into decentralized, sometimes we have to take a step back just to make sure we're still secure. And that's why I said, like, Web3 is in like a gray area right now.
Mhm.
um it's not necessarily ready yet because it's still new, and we're waiting. Somewhere down the line is going to come up with some breakthrough technology and really change the way Web3 works, and make it more secure. uh but like right now, the Web3 is, like I said, it's stuck at the moment. And uh that's why I've been teaching these Web3 security classes, to help people uh you know take a breather and step back and make sure that what they're doing is, they're doing it the right way,
Yeah.
essentially.
Well, I think that is a couple really good points because actually later today I'm doing a master class in another Discord about sovereignty, right? And what a lot of people don't take for what it's obvious the space is very young because there is a large portion of users of blockchain technology that are here either for the hype, the early investment, that type of thing, and they don't understand that if enacted, the purpose of blockchain is to bring personal sovereignty, right? But with personal sovereignty comes a massive amount of personal responsibility, and we as a race. We as people, we don't understand personal responsibility anything like we did, several hundred years ago, right? Because we have been fed into this idea of everything is managed and for us, and our sovereignty has been taken away. So with that comes this I think it ties into the security thing, because if you don't understand personal sovereignty, if you don't understand that every move you make is yours and yours alone, and if you are not careful, then you can be scammed, you can be played, all this type of stuff. There's a huge learning curve there, because if you take modern people, modern technology, and where we were before blockchain, I have a wallet that I keep my cash in. I have a bank account that is managed for me, that I have no access to if the bank doesn't allow me to have access to it, right? So we've given our sovereignty away in such a way that we don't understand the difference. Blockchain is the difference of holding all of your assets and your net worth as viable real world thing, like gold. It would be of the same idea as if all of my assets that are in the bank, that are on my phone, that are in my wallet, they were all hard assets like gold, and I was personally responsible for protecting those assets, for moving those assets around. I maintain the ownership, and I am sovereign of myself, because I can access my assets at any time. But it also comes with a much higher level of physical responsibility, right? And because the space is so young, and because the technology is new and developing, I think it is difficult for a lot of people to understand the difference between holding your money in a bank account versus holding it in a wallet, right? That you control. And I agree with you 100%. I think that there is a lag in the technology in the space, and the learning curve that people have to catch up to get there. We have people investing massive amounts of money in these protocols like Solana, like Polygon, like Avalanche, Elrond, these type of things. And a lot of people don't understand that these are in beta at best. A lot of these blockchains, right? Technically, Solana's still in beta. Like, they're still in beta. They're not even at quote unquote actively live yet. And so you'll get storms of FUD on these things when things happen. But this is where we are in the space, right? Like, this is where we are. We only have, I mean, Bitcoin itself is barely over a decade old, right? And some of these newer technologies, we're talking a couple years. So they're developing, and with that comes as an early investor, if you guys have ever beta tested a video game, or you've ever beta tested a website or a service, you understand that the purpose of the beta test is to bring out the bugs, find out where the vulnerabilities are, and these type of things. And that's what's going on right now. So you need to understand that if you're looking to be in blockchain actively as an investor. If you're here as an investor, you have to understand that that's the stage we're in. There will be exploits. There are going to be bugs. Solana has, in its lifespan, has but the blockchain's completely shut down a dozen times, right? And we've been blacked out for 12, 24 hours at a time. This happens in the space. So I think it's worth noting, that we're super early. We're still super, super early with the technology, and even more so with NFTs. NFTs is even a newer, younger technology than the blockchain tech with our layer ones and layer twos, and ZK rollups and things like that are currently coming out. So this is the price we pay for being an early investor, right? Where the technology is still moving forward. So I also think that just to expound a little bit on when you were talking about ethical hacking, I think it's interesting. If like, what is I think this is really good to know, because I like highlighting skill sets that inside the Web3 space are very valuable and needed moving forward. So there are a number of ethical hackers in the space, but the number is very small, and there's more that are needed. because if you look all the time, protocols are putting out bounties on finding vulnerabilities. OpenSea does it constantly, and you've seen in the last couple of months, you've seen 3 or 4 ethical hackers that have went on and exposed vulnerabilities, sent it into OpenSea. They get paid bounties. There's good money to be made if you're good at thinking like a hacker and being able to help blockchains and protocols find these things. So if someone was looking into going in, trying to get into cybersecurity or ethical hacking, what would you suggest would be a good place for them to start if they were wanting to look into that field as it pertains to blockchain tech?
Yeah, the first thing I tend to talk about, like the very first things you want to know, if you want to get into ethical hacking in general, right, and moving over to Web3, you do need to understand that at first it won't be Web3 related. So it's kind of like taking a college class. Like you're going to get a degree, right? And you have to take these classes that don't necessarily pertain to the specifics of what you want to get into. But sometimes you need these to really understand how technology itself works. So the one thing I would recommend, right, is understand the types of operating systems. Uh, a lot of people don't know much about Linux, don't know the different types of Linux versions, right? When it comes to ethical hacking, a lot of these hackers use a form of Linux like Kali Linux. I don't know if that's the most popular one anymore. I'm sure the people who are really into ethical hacking, they probably don't even like Kali Linux, so they use a different version. But Kali Linux, it's an operating system that actually comes with every tool that you would need for finding vulnerabilities. And it can be used unethically as well, right? And it's kind of like that's the thing everybody's kind of hoping for, right? Let's hope that there's more ethical hackers out there than unethical. And I'd say worldwide at the moment, not involving Web3, there are more ethical hackers. But touch up on the types of operating systems, right? You need to learn how websites work. You need to learn how you can even touch up again on how blockchain works, right? How do you read a contract? These small basic things will help you learn like how things work and how to find vulnerabilities in them, right? And at the same time, you do, like I said, have to keep yourself in the mindset of a hacker. I don't know if you saw it recently. I did want to kind of bring this up because I have one. Have you ever heard it's a little device that came out recently. It's called a Flipper Zero. Um,
I don't believe I've heard of it.
so it looks like this little device right here. And they got really popular here in the US, and basically it is what we call a pen testing tool. And it can be used unethically, right? So basically what it does is it can read frequencies, and it can mimic frequencies, and for example, like key fobs, right? So with this device, I'm able to read my key fob for my vehicle, and I can actually unlock my car with it. And this device kind of teaches you a lot about ethical hacking in a way, because you learn more about social engineering, right? Because if you put yourself in the mindset of a hacker, there are a lot of companies, for example, that you have to have a key card that you tap onto a little pad to open up the door into a building. And there are multiple ways a hacker would take advantage of that to get inside. For example, they could be tailgating someone, aka following someone right as they walk into the building. They could be dressed nicely, walk right in, and the person may even hold the door open for them, and be like, okay, yeah, you look like you belong here. Go ahead and come inside, and they don't even have a key card. Or maybe they went to a bar down the road. Someone who happens to work at the building has their key card hung around their neck, and they go up with one of these devices, and they can tap it, like, and they not even realize it, right? You put it in a little chest pocket. You come up to the person and you have your device get close enough to the key card to where it reads the frequency coming out of it. Now, just from reading that, I had now have a copy of the key card on this little device, and I can walk up to the building, emulate it, and boom, I can go ahead and unlock the door. There like this tool right here, there's different versions of it out there, but this one was considered like the easiest, right? The most user friendly to learn when it comes into like certain frequencies and how they work and everything. It can do a lot more than that as well. But this device did get so popular that the US Customs actually seized like over 15,000 of them.
Wow.
And I do think it was because they were worried people are going to use it unethically. It's not illegal to buy one, right? Because what this company did to work around that is that the basic firmware that comes with the device, the frequencies for like certain American garage doors and stuff like that, they're blocked. Like you can't use those frequencies, you can't emulate them. But of course, there we have this amazing web application called GitHub, and people will go in and rewrite the firmware that you can download onto this device, and all those things that were locked before, region locked, are no longer locked, and now you can use them as for whatever you want. But it, like, I would say if you could get your hands on one of these, I would do it, right? It really does teach you a lot about how easy it is to like, you know, bypass certain things like NFC chips, air tags, all that type of stuff. And it's really cool because you can learn how to make your own and use them to put, maybe like you want your social media on a little NFC chip, right? You can write one using this, or you could just use this yourself, right? You go up to somebody, say, hey, you want my Twitter, my Instagram, stuff like that. You pull this up to their phone, and it pulls up a link, and it kind of shows them all your social information. But there's a lot of stuff out there that is really easy to get your hands on, that people don't realize it can really teach them a lot, but it can also be used unethically and bypass a lot of things. I saw a video with this device. Someone was able to change the price on a gas station sign.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
It didn't change the price of the gas. They just changed the price of that you could see on the big sign. But I was saying though, right? This tool, I believe it's something people don't have to worry about when it comes to being used unethically, because if you go look up on YouTube, the Flipper Zero, you'll see videos that have a couple million views on it now. And it got those views in only a few days. And this tool is nothing you want to worry about, because the tools you really need to worry about are the ones that you don't know is on the market. The ones that you don't realize people are using and creating that could be even smaller than this. Or maybe it's a whole backpack that they're wearing that it's just filled with a device that is made to read certain frequencies and bypass and get into them. There's so many things out there, so many tools, and you do learn about this in your certified ethical hacking course. These tools that not many people know about, they'll bring them to light and show you how they work and how they can be used. And that's honestly why I like ethical hacking, is because it's so fun. They're like, you get to find these vulnerabilities, and so it's basically hacking but legal, because you get permission from these companies to hack their stuff, and it's fun.
Yeah. for sure. I like that. I can tell like your enthusiasm for that particular area, and I think it's great because I feel the same way, and I think there's a lot of similarities between I've been in the crypto space for 7 years now. And one of the reasons why I like it so much is because it's so fast moving and so fast evolving, and there's always something new to learn. And and it seems like Obviously, the hacking space and security space is pretty much the same, right? There's always new exploits. There's always new technology being built that has vulnerabilities and new scams and stuff going on. So I mean, I can understand your enthusiasm and interest in the space. I mean, it's great when you're involved in an industry that is constantly evolving and constantly changing, and it almost makes it to where there's always something new to learn, so you never hit a rut, right? There's always some new piece of technology, always some new thing going on, and I think that's fantastic. And I also think that these two areas of blockchain technology and cybersecurity, ethical hacking, I think they go together so well because they are so similar in the fact that they're super quick, innovating industries, and there's always it's something that you have to continue to keep up on and continue to learn, and you never really hit a pinnacle because it evolves so quickly. So I think that's great. And, I really think that, we've been sitting here for like 45, 50 minutes talking about this. And I feel like we've just barely cut the surface of what we
Oh
need to
yeah.
talk about in it. So I think what we're going to do, guys, is not only will I probably have Crash back one to the podcast to kind of elaborate and go kind of deeper into some of these things, because I personally find it super, super interesting. But we're also going to get him doing probably a couple months worth of individual classes on different topics, because obviously you can't pack this into a 45-minute video or an hour video. But I do think that he's made some super good points on basic Discord security, basic wallet security, and that's where you need to start, right? So if you've been listening to this video and you've listened through to the end, make sure that each of those points that he has touched on, that you guys are going back to your Discords, making sure that those points are you're on par, you're looking good with those, that your wallet security is good, and then come join us. Continue to watch channel, follow, put your notifications on. We'll have him back to do more in-depth stuff. And if you're not involved in the Alpha Mutants Discord, there will be a link below. Jump in the Discord, guys, because not only do we functionally teach you how to make money in the space, but we're actively doing things like bringing Crash on to do these courses, so that we can also teach you how to keep your money that you make in the space, right? Keep your NFTs and make sure that you don't become one of those guys that that got 7 Bored Apes swapped from him in a matter of a few weeks because he just did not understand, right?
I'm pretty sure it
Don't
happened in an hour.
Yeah, well, so that's even worse, man. Can you imagine the dollar amount on that? Like, I mean, I've been investing for years, and I've lost hundreds of thousands in a day or two with trades and stuff. But to lose that kind of money, it has to be like life changing. And my thoughts go out to people every time I hear these things, because when you lose a $100,000 NFT or $500,000 in the span of a few minutes, it's devastating. It's devastating. So don't be that person. Don't ever allow yourself to get into that situation. So and for me personally, I'll even say that even at the very beginning of this episode, we were talking about the wallet security and as far as like soft and hard wallets and everything. I took several notes on this because even being in the space as long as I have, for 7 years, I have connected my hardware wallet to do things like go on OpenSea, or to move from protocol to protocol. And I mean, someone like me, 7 years, 7, 8 years in the space, just that click in my head, like, yeah, that doesn't make sense logically. When you think from first principles, it doesn't make sense. Your hardware wallet should not be connected. That's the whole point of having it. So even if I don't care if you've been in the space a decade, you can pick up good practices and reminders to stay secure in the space. So I'll give Crash here a couple minutes if you want to leave anybody with any final thoughts or anything like that. And guys, when you're done with the video, we will have Crash's links below. We'll have the Discord links below. I believe later today he's even going to be doing a course inside the Discord, and we will have this recorded. If you are missing it, you can go back and it'll be in our video, our voice channel log that you can go back. I highly recommend that you check that out, because he'll be going into some other things a little bit deeper in those things. But Crash, any final thoughts you want to leave the viewers with before we close things up here?
Yeah, one thing I feel like somebody might ask this question, right? Because I mentioned about the Ledger wallet and stuff like that, and I also said I don't have one. So probably people are going to be like, "Oh, what wallet do you have? Do you even have a hard wallet?" And I do have a hard wallet. The one I own is a SafePal wallet. I don't think a lot of people know about SafePal.
Yeah.
It's a pretty cool wallet. It's actually very nice and secure. The only thing I dislike about it is that they kind of use the Binance chain.
Mhm.
That's just my personal opinion, right? It's not my thing. I might end up go buying a Ledger wallet personally instead of using the SafePal. But yeah, right there's I don't think off the top of my head there's any wallets I say don't buy, right? Because a lot of them are really good, especially if you're using them properly. It's they're really, you can't go wrong with any type of hard wallet. um as I said before though, like, since your hard wallet is the most secure thing, don't take it out of your house. Keep it at home. One thing I wanted to touch up on that I forgot is that a lot of these companies create these hard wallets and they're so small. They're USB size and
Yeah.
they're credit card size, and like it makes sense that you want to attach them to your keys, or maybe you want to put them like in your actual real life wallet that holds all your debit cards. But it's like it's like, why would you do that, right? Because you lose your wallet, you're screwed, because now you've just lost your hard wallet as well.
Yeah.
So make sure you keep these stored away inside your house. Keep your 24 seed phrase away from your hard wallet as well, right? Because if someone breaks into your house, you don't want them to have your 24 seed phrase and your wallet all together. Um, so that was just one little thing I wanted to touch upon in case somebody was probably wondering, like, what do I own? What do I recommend?
Yeah.
I do recommend a Ledger wallet. I like I said, it's just that one little feature I don't agree on, but
Mhm.
overall, it is a good wallet to use.
Fantastic, and I think that maybe makes a good point. I think what I've said to people in the past is that I've seen people carry their ledgers, in their pocket or on their keychain or like things like that. And I was like, I've told them before. I said, listen, I said, if you would be comfortable carrying the value of what's in your ledger on your person in cash, then go ahead and do it. But if you would not, then that's probably a good indicator that you shouldn't be carrying your ledger. So someone that you have a couple $1,000s on your ledger and you've carried a couple $1,000s with you before, that fine, whatever. But as someone that has their entire portfolio on a ledger and you're talking tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, your average person is not going to carry that around in a briefcase with them all day, right? So just keep that in mind. These are real assets, and I think sometimes when you see these tiny little ledgers, I mean, it doesn't correlate that, hey, this is a massive amount of money and a massive amount of value sometimes. So definitely keep it safe. I recommend even using if you're not often in your ledger and out of it, you can use a safety deposit box. You can use I actually have a safe, a bolted, fireproof safe in my house that I keep it in. Something like that, even because you also have to take into context. If your bank burns down, you don't lose all of your money, right? Because this is a digital. They have a digital network. But if your ledger is in a house fire and burns up, well, you're screwed in most cases, right? So you have to keep that into context also. So if you are keeping it at home, you need to remember that, having a fireproof, waterproof safe, something of that nature, is a very good idea to keep that totally secure. And we'll talk about other, there are a lot of other tips for keeping large amounts of value on your ledgers and what you can do, even with keeping your seed phrase safe. There are engraved, you can get, I could actually drop some links for these things. There are engraved seed phrase, metal seed phrase cards that you can get in case that because a piece of paper can be destroyed in a lot of different ways. So some people may feel more secure having an engraved one, or even splitting up your seed phrase and keeping them in two different locations, right? Even that may be a good idea for some people, depending on what your value is. But I think those are great points. We don't want to go over today, guys. I hope that everyone has got some value from this. I really appreciate Crash being on here. Looking forward to being on more of his crash courses. We're going to brand that crash courses
Yeah.
in security. So that's going to be cool. But yeah, jump below, follow him on his socials. Follow, jump to the Alpha Mutants Discord. Follow us on the socials. We'll be tweeting out obviously whenever we're doing courses with him. So come and take advantage of that, guys. So without further ado, thank you guys so much. Like, follow the videos. I'm Crypto Kenny, and until next time, let's go make that crypto money and let's keep that crypto money safe. Later.